Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports, live across the northwest.
Thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
The ayes to the right, 314. The noes to the left, 291. The ayes have it, and look!
Dramatic moments that means life and death will change for many in future as the assisted dying bill passes a vital stage in Parliament, a political dividing line in our region and the rest of the country.
People that are terminally ill, like myself, will have peace of mind when it comes to that time, when they decide.
I'm going to be devastated, I'm going to be frightened, I'm going to be contacting my friends and colleagues to let them know that, we're still powerful and strong and beautiful and our lives are still worth living.
The face of a killer, the boy who stabbed 12-year-old Ava to death, can now be identified as he's turned 18.
I'm breaking the rules by wearing glitter on my face and bringing a teddy.
We meet the lucky school children and their teachers who were actually encouraged to disobey for a day.
You'll never know, you get that feeling.
Old band, new album. We catch up with The Farm as they release their first album for 30 years.
After our hottest day of the year so far today, the thundery breakdown from tomorrow. A weather warning in place. I'll have all the details later on.
So first, it could be the biggest legacy of our generation, the bill, which will offer terminally ill adults the chance to choose the time and manner of their death.
Yeah, just a few hours ago, MPs voted by a margin of just 23 to pass the assisted dying bill at its third reading and send it to the House of Lords.
Which means that, barring something unforeseen, it will become law. In our region, as in every other part of England and Wales, this has divided opinion.
Yeah, while some welcome it as a chance to end suffering, others fear it could lead to people nearing the end of their lives feeling pressurised to die.
Our reporter Emma Sweeney reports on a momentous day at Westminster.
They gathered in their hundreds on an issue of life and death. Some for assisted dying.
It feels to me like this is the last chance. If the bill doesn't get through today, it will be years before we can progress any further.
Others very much against.
There are not sufficient safeguards for disabled people, for people who are long-term ill, for those who want to live rather than die.
I call Kim Leadbeater to move that the bill now be read a third time.
Yeah. Inside, MPs settled in for the long haul. The usual Commons chaos gave way to considered debate, with those on both sides in a last-ditch attempt to make their voices heard.
Too many of us have witnessed the devastation caused when we are denied choice at the end of life. Until the law changes, dying people in Britain are suffering unbearably in their final weeks and days.
The consequences of getting this wrong are severe, and the risks of getting it wrong with an NHS still in recovery is too high.
Many thought today's vote would be too close to call. Over the past few weeks, some who had initially lent support had changed position, worried that it failed to protect the most vulnerable. In the end, after 8 months of toing and froing, it all came down to this.
The ayes to the right, 314. The noes to the left, 291. The ayes have it, and look!
The legislation would allow terminally ill adults in England and Wales with fewer than 6 months to live to apply for an assisted death. This would be subject to approval by 2 doctors and a panel featuring a social worker, a senior legal figure and a psychiatrist. The terminally ill person would take an approved substance, provided by a doctor but administered only by the person themselves. Despite having terminal cancer and living in constant pain, which she likens to being tortured, Gillian McKean made the difficult journey from Cheshire to London for today's vote. It's a moment she has longed to see.
People that are terminally ill, like myself, will have peace of mind when it comes to that time, when they decide what they would like and how their death should be.
But this is a bill shrouded in controversy. 200 miles away from Westminster, disability activist Dennis Queen watched on from South Manchester. She's worried about what the future could now hold.
I'm going to be devastated. I'm going to be frightened. I'm going to be contacting my friends and colleagues to let them know that, we're still powerful and strong and beautiful and our lives are still worth living.
Next comes the game of parliamentary ping-pong between the House of Commons and the House of Lords. But there's no doubt today's historic vote has brought society one huge step closer in changing our relationship with life and death. Emma Sweeney, ITV News.
It's a truly historic moment, and there'll be more on the assisted dying bill on the national and international news coming straight up after us tonight.
Well, next this evening, and the teenager who murdered 12-year-old Ava White in Liverpool can now be publicly named for the first time after turning 18.
The boy was 14 when he carried out the attack in the city centre back in November 2021.
Yeah, he was sentenced to a minimum of 13 years behind bars for her murder, but reporting restrictions meant his identity was protected until today when he became an adult.
With more on this story, let's cross live now to our Merseyside correspondent Andy Bonner, who's in Liverpool tonight. Andy.
Yeah, the plaque says Forever 12. It marks a spot tragically where Ava White collapsed to the ground after being stabbed by a boy of just 14. Tonight, finally, we can name him. His name, Harry Gilbertson, the person responsible for her murder, who turned 18 today. In 2022, he was jailed for life with a minimum term of 13 years. But this image, seen by Ava's family just last year, seems to show him posing with another male who's making an offensive gesture. Ava had been out with friends for the Christmas lights switch on back in 2021. Gilbertson stabbed her in an argument sparked by him and his friends filming them. Security cameras captured him running away from the scene and then casually walking into a shop and preparing his hair for a selfie. He was arrested an hour later. Now, when I was reporting that trial, the judge refused calls from the media, supported by Ava's family, for us to be able to identify Gilbertson. That was because of his age, although, of course, now that he is an adult, that restriction no longer applies. Ava's mum, Leanne, who set up a foundation to provide bleed control kits to premises, said she wanted the whole world to know who he was. When she reported the image of Gilbertson to the authorities, she was told a glitch on an educational iPad allowed him to use the internet. She said she was told he was read the Riot Act, but he had no formal punishment. Well, the Ministry of Justice said tonight that no victim should ever have to see their perpetrators online. They've put in tough measures to clamp down on social media in prisons, and will review, they said, how to extend that to other places of custody. Nevertheless, Ava's mum says she is really angry about seeing Gilbertson's photograph. She says she tries not to think about him, but instead to concentrate on her daughter's legacy.
Andy in Liverpool, thanks so much.
Well, next tonight, to the latest challenge from three fathers initially united by grief and now united through purpose.
Yeah, over the last 4 years, the three dads walking have covered thousands of miles and raised well over £1 million in the process.
As well as campaigning for suicide prevention to be taught in schools, they're also hoping to raise awareness about support available to young people struggling with their mental health.
Well, tomorrow they're expected to complete their tour around the coast of Anglesey, and our correspondent Mel Boren went to join Mike Palmer from Sale, Cumbrian Andy Airy and Tom Owen from Norfolk on their latest trek.
Walking in memory of their daughters for the fourth time, three dads walking back, raising awareness of suicide prevention. This time they've been walking the coastal path around Anglesey, highlighting the issue of suicide in rural communities, where mental health support can sometimes be hard to find.
We want Hopeline 247 to be basically known in every corner of the UK.
We're in Norfolk, very, very rural. Andy's in Cumbria, Mike was in Manchester. And outside of kind of that 9 to 5, we didn't know about Papyrus, we didn't know about the emergency line that they had. And the only options we thought we had was to dial 999. Yet if we'd known about Papyrus, known about Hopeline 247, maybe, just maybe, Emily, Beth and Sophie could have been here. So it's, you know, we'd all take that chance again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hopeline 247, it's Papyrus's like emergency line, so if you're feeling suicidal, it's there 24/7, and it's so important to keep that Hopeline going.
And there is a real risk that that could actually end if they don't have enough money.
Well, like any charity, or every charity at the moment, the Papyrus Prevention of Young Suicide is feeling a bit of a squeeze, and so it's a really good incentive for us to come and walk again.
It's a shorter walk, but it's no less important because of that.
Because of the profile we've reached, lots of people have come back to us to say, you've helped us save our child, because you've introduced us to Hopeline, or you've introduced us to Papyrus, and lives have been saved.
And you've been walking with lots of people over this walk. How important is that?
It's not just the people that we walk with. We walked past someone the other day, and a guy shot out of his house, and he told us the story about his beautiful 19-year-old daughter that had taken her own life. And he was so pleased to have met us, donated some money. And so it's that connection as well with other bereaved parents.
And you are still desperate to get suicide prevention into schools.
Well, the conversation carries on with the government. It goes on and on and on, and we aren't going away.
No.
So we've got to a point now where there is a draft curriculum, the non-compulsory bit rather than compulsory, so it's not quite right, but at least it's there. And we have got an invite back down to London and catch up with the Prime Minister and Secretary of State for Education.
We'd like it done very soon, you know, that it will save lives.
And this is your 4th walk.
Yes.
Will it be your last walk?
It is like.
Should we take a vote?
Well, it's like getting an old band back together, isn't it? You know, I mean, yeah, these are incredible experiences. You know, there is the fundraising that's massively important, but just the walk. I mean, some of the scenery we've seen is absolutely out of this world. You know, these really are extraordinary experiences, these walks. So the only problem is I've got to spend it with these two.
Ditto.
Yeah, and we wish them all the luck in the world, especially in this heat. And that walk by the three dads is expected to finish tomorrow. Well, next to a very different but also a very brave way of raising money and awareness for a great cause.
Yes, tomorrow, 2 head teachers from a school in Southport will be jumping out of a plane. With parachutes, I should add. They'll be fundraising for Elsie's Story, the charity created in memory of Elsie.Stancombe, one of the 3 young girls killed in Southport last summer.
Yeah, but before that, pupils had a bit of fun today with a whole day devoted to breaking the rules. This report from Anna Yosef.
I'm breaking the rules by wearing glitter on my face and bringing a teddy. I'm breaking the rules today because I'm bringing my sunglasses into school. I'm breaking the rules by having pink hair and having a tattoo.
I'm breaking the rules by wearing a baseball cap back to front and tattoos.
But all this rule breaking's for a good cause, to raise funds for Elsie's Story, a charity set up in memory of Elsie.Stancombe, a former pupil at the school.
Really affected our community, so their family asked us and the charity asked us if we could do something big to celebrate it and celebrate her life and really make a mark on our community. So we decided we would do this, we would do something big, we'd go all out and break the rules.
It's just a difference because Mr. Antel never lets us do these things, and he'd go and he'd hit the ceiling if he found out that it wasn't Break Rules Day.
It feels very weird because as I was walking to school this morning, I was like, this doesn't feel right at all because my shirt's untucked and it just feels really weird because normally we're really smart.
And while their students are breaking the rules, these head teachers are breaking out of their comfort zones. Inspired by Elsie's determined spirit, they're facing their fears for a fundraising skydive.
So tomorrow we are going to a parachute centre and we're both jumping 15,000 feet in a tandem dive, not together. Yeah. We both hope we're attached to somebody who really knows what they're doing. as something to demonstrate to the children you should take on your fears, you should do scary things, you should be brave, because when you do, you get amazing experiences in your life. And we wanted to set the example for that.
What do you think Elsie would have thought of today?
She would have absolutely loved it. Elsie was a big character, full of life, loved all these events that we do in school. And so she would have been the one that's got really colourful hair and, yeah, big glasses on and ribbons in her hair. She was a really charismatic young lady who's really determined in life, and she would have loved today, and she would have loved her head teachers jumping out of an aeroplane for her, definitely.
Scaling new heights for Elsie to keep her memory and legacy alive. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Yeah, good luck to them too. And if you'd like to find out more about that skydive and the charity Elsie's story, then just head to our website itv.com/Granada. Well, today is World Refugee Day, a day when we're asked to recognise the contributions that asylum seekers and refugees have made to the UK.
The North West is home to 20% of the country's asylum seekers.
Well, our reporter, Tasha Kachiri, went to meet Mo Manla, a refugee who fled from the civil war in Syria and risked his life to find safety and an education.
He now has a master's degree, a family, and is on track to qualify as an architect.
Mo Manla is soaking up every second with his newborn son. Life is full of joy now, but it hasn't always been that way. He's from Aleppo and made enemies with the Assad regime after joining protests.
We thought it's temporary. This regime will fall any minute and we will be back like in a month or two.
He crossed the sea in a dinghy, walked for days with no food and was chased across Europe. You could have died.
Either die or my life useless. I was just a number in the 8 billion people around the world.
He made it to the UK and claimed asylum, but it hasn't been easy. Asylum seekers can't work and live on around £7 a day. And you had to live off handouts from charities and church?
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
I never lived this way. It's not the greatest feeling, but at the same time feeling thankful for the people helping here.
Here at Asylum Link in Liverpool, charities step in to help. They serve lunch to around 200 people 4 days a week. There are also group bike rides, like today's special event for Refugee Week.
Bicycles mean freedom for people. They mean ability to get transport to places, to important appointments, when often the support offered is not very much at all.
Musab is an asylum seeker from Jordan. He says bikes are a lifeline, but what he really wants is the chance to work.
I don't want to get support, any kind of support, financial or other kinds of support. I want to get my right to work because I'm still here. I'm living here. I'm trying to be part, effective part, positive part into this society.
What would you say to people who say asylum seekers and refugees just take from the country but don't give anything back?
I say there is probably people doing that, but not only asylum seekers, even British people doing it. Everyone doing this, but not all of them this way. Not all of them.
And if you could sum up your journey here, what would it be?
Success. Yeah, I feel I've done the right thing. It's the right thing. If I go back in time 1,000 times, I will come back to UK.
Mo's found safety and success in the UK, but thousands more are still hoping for the same chance. As wars rage on, the question remains, does the system here have the capacity and the will to help? Tasha Kachiri, ITV News, Liverpool.
Meanwhile, Liverpool's 22-year-old central defender Jarell Quansah could be moving the other way to Bayer Leverkusen. The two clubs are believed to be at an early stage of negotiations.
In netball, Manchester Thunder are in semi-final action in the Super League playoffs tonight. They face the London Mavericks, a side they've already beaten twice this year. The game is at Bellevue, and Thunder are hoping to make the most of home advantage.
We always say it's easy to say best crowd and loudest crowd in the league, but they're definitely our 8th player. It's already hot in here tonight, so hopefully they'll bring some more heat, or cool, hopefully. Tonight's the minor semi-final. We'll play Mavs, who finished 4th in the league. Whoever wins the game tonight faces the losers of 1 and 2 who are playing straight after us tonight, so it'll be a quick dart from here to watch the other semi-final, hopefully with a smile on my face to see who we're facing next week.
Yeah, good luck to them. Now, Oasis superfans have flocked to a pop-up shop in Manchester that's opened ahead of the band's reunion tour. They were booking slots to get into the store, filled with merchandise bearing the Gallagher brothers' faces. And some shoppers said they were buying items ready for Liam and Noel's shows in Manchester, while one revealed he'd uprooted his whole life across an ocean just because of their music.
When I was like a teenager, or even earlier than that, about 8, 9 years old, listen to Oasis on the radio playing in Brazil, then you become obsessed about them, move your life to Manchester.
It's really amazing. It's great to have like the first dibs of everything and be here before the shows. It feels like this is the start of the tour now, like it feels real that the boys are actually back.
Did you miss out on tickets?
Absolutely, yeah, I'm not going. It was very hard to get tickets for that. It's going to be the event of the summer, that one.
It is, isn't it? We've both missed out.
Well, before Oasis hit Manchester's music scene in the mid-90s, Liverpool had its own indie band at the top of the charts.
Yeah, incredibly, it's now 35 years since we all got on the groovy train and belted out the classic anthem All Together Now.
And now, the Farm's original lineup is back with their first album in 3 decades. Let the Music Take Control is out today. Our correspondent Anne O'Connor has been chatting with the band.
Welcome to Granada Reports, all of you from the Farm. 30 years after your last album, you're releasing your new one.
Let the music, let the music, let the music take control.
But it doesn't feel like you've been away for 30 years.
You know, we were involved in things like the Hillsborough campaign, so we had a Christmas #1. That was our idea, with the cover of He Ain't Heavy, you know.
From which there is no return.
I think it was a case of, you know, do people want to hear new material? I don't know, you know. And then when people said, yeah, we do, and we started getting playlisted, and it was a great reaction on this thing called social media.
That newfangled thing.
We introduced a few new songs in the festival, and people going, when can we buy them? When can we buy them?
This is the time, this is the moment, this is the moment.
Keith's been the main driver in this. He's very modest about this, but he's been the main driver of because he had a health problem, and I think he thought, you know, we should have got more music out. You know, is that right?
Throat cancer twice, basically, and I'm now recently just got past the 5-year mark, so I've kind of got the all clear on that now.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I just wanted the music that we are making to be heard.
When you get that feeling, when your body's healing.
A lot of the music begins in Steve's house, really, where we kind of get in his. He's got like a cupboard, and we kind of work in the cupboard, the mixture of the cupboard and I know you're laughing, but it's true, Lewis. The cupboard and the toilet, you know.
Not a garage band, but a cupboard
There's
band.
Another cupboard band.
So the acoustics in the cupboard are particularly good, are they?
There's some wonderful work goes on in the cupboard, you know.
All together now. All together now.
And what really unites people is when All Together Now comes on. Are you one of those bands who rues it and thinks that you should move on from it, or do you still love it?
When we played at Glastonbury last year, it was even people who Glastonbury, you know, veterans said it was a magic moment, you know.
The message of the song, you know, it doesn't necessarily grow old, although we do.
You're looking fantastic, all of you. Thank you very much for talking to us, and very best of luck with the album.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to see the Farm back, and they have legendary status amongst Evertonians, like you do.
They do. I was very disappointed that Anne didn't use that All Together Now for Everton, but you know.
The FA Cup final remix, 95, wasn't it? Brilliant.
Wow, it's been really hot out there today, hasn't it? And it's time for that all-important weekend forecast. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hello again, welcome to the weekend. Temperatures peaking today in the northwest, but another very hot and humid day to come tomorrow with the risk of a few thunderstorms for our part of the world. Thereafter, freshening up from Sunday, cooler and more unsettled weather-wise next week. High pressure is gradually being eroded by low pressure from the southwest. Fronts will move in through the course of tomorrow, bringing a spate of heavy thundery downpours to our part of the world through tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. They tend to clear through, however, more rain is waiting in the wings from the west for Sunday. Back to this evening's details, a muggy night across the board. In fact, tropical conditions for many urban areas in the northwest. Manchester not falling much below 20 degrees tonight, so no doubt very uncomfortable for sleeping. There's the risk of a few rumbles of thunder in the air before dawn, and some low cloud mistiness and sea fog begins to build from the west as we approach tomorrow morning. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun is up at 4:40 and it sets at 9:45, tomorrow being the longest day of the year. On to the details for tomorrow. It is likely to be dry to start with plenty of very hot sunshine around. Low cloud and mistiness for Irish Sea coasts, and very quickly through the morning, thundery downpours will develop. Some of these will be really heavy during the course of the afternoon, and we have a yellow warning in place from the Met Office to cater for those, valid from 3 o'clock tomorrow until the early hours of Sunday morning. Something to bear in mind if you're out and about on the roads. There could be a sudden downpour, lots of surface water and spray. A hot day again tomorrow, 28 or 29 degrees. Sunday looks fresher in general, with a band of rain moving eastwards through the day. And next week is cool and unsettled again.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather. Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
The hot weather exacerbating pollen levels across the northwest, certainly into tomorrow. Grass pollen is likely to be very high. Some better news ahead, down to moderate from Sunday. Bye-bye.
Tough one for the hay fever sufferers out there. Thanks, Joe. That's it for another week here on Granada Reports.
Yeah, we just want to wish all the luck in the world to the 3 dads and the Southport head teachers and their 15,000 feet skydive. Fingers crossed the weather behaves for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Tash is back with the late update after news at 10. But for now, from all of us here, good night, thanks for watching and have a lovely week.